The starship Intrepid drifted silently through the inky void of space, its gleaming hull a testament to human engineering prowess. Inside the bridge, Captain Elena Martinez stood with her hands clasped behind her back, dark eyes fixed on the swirling nebula that filled the viewscreen before her. The mission was simple on paper: make first contact with the newly discovered Zarkeli species and establish diplomatic relations. But as any seasoned space explorer knew, nothing was ever truly simple in the vast expanse of the cosmos. "Captain, we're picking up an anomalous energy signature," reported Lieutenant Akira Tanaka, his fingers dancing across the sensor console. "It doesn't match anything in our database." Elena frowned, a crease forming between her brows. "Origin: approximately 500,000 kilometers off our port bow," Akira replied, his voice tight with concentration. "It's moving, sir. Fast." Before Elena could respond, klaxons blared throughout the ship. Red emergency lights bathed the bridge in an eerie glow as the main view screen flickered to life, revealing a sight that made even the most hardened crew members gasp in horror. A massive creature, easily the size of a small moon, emerged from the swirling gases of the nebula. Its body was a nightmarish fusion of organic tissue and crystalline structures, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. Dozens of tentacle-like appendages writhed in the vacuum of space, each tipped with what appeared to be razor-sharp claws. "By all that's holy," whispered Commander Jackson, "the ship's XO. What is that thing?" Elena's mind raced, years of training kicking in as she assessed the situation. Red alert. All hands to battle stations. Shields up, weapons hot. The bridge erupted into a flurry of activity as crew members rushed to their posts. The Intrepid's engines roared to life, maneuvering thrusters firing as Elena barked out evasive orders. But the creature was impossibly fast for its size. One of its massive tentacles lashed out, slamming into the Intrepid's shields with enough force to send the ship spinning. Sparks erupted from consoles as systems overloaded, and Elena had to grab onto her command chair to keep from being thrown across the bridge. "Shields down to 60%. Akira shouted over the chaos. "Whatever that thing is, it's draining our power." Elena gritted her teeth, mind working furiously. They couldn't outrun it, and their weapons seemed to have little effect on its crystalline hide. They needed a plan, and fast. "Engineering, I need options," she barked into her comlink. The gruff voice of Chief Engineer Zorax, a towering Andorian with skin the color of Arctic ice, crackled through the speakers. "Captain, we've got a theory. That beastie out there seems to be some kind of energy parasite. It's literally feeding off our power systems." The cold realization washed over Elena. The Zarkeli, they're not a new species, are they? They're prey. Jackson's eyes widened in understanding. "And we just walked right into the hunting grounds of the galaxy's apex predator." Elena's jaw set with determination. Humanity hadn't come this far, hadn't survived first contact wars and interstellar plagues, just to be wiped out by some cosmic horror. No, they would find a way. They always did. "Zorax," she said, her voice steady despite the ship shuddering around them, "I need you to overload our main power core. Make it look like a feast the thing can't resist." "Are you mad?" Jackson exclaimed. "That'll leave us dead in the water." Elena's eyes blazed with fierce determination. "Sometimes you have to risk it all to win, Commander. Besides," a ghost of a smile played at her lips, "I got a hunch about these crystals." As Zorax worked his engineering magic, Elena ordered all non-essential personnel to the escape pods. If her plan failed, at least some of the crew might survive to warn Earth about this new threat. The creature, which the crew had begun calling the Ravager, seemed to sense the surge of power emanating from the Intrepid. It drew closer, tentacles quivering with anticipation of the energy feast to come. "Now, Zorax," Elena shouted. The Intrepid's power core erupted in a blinding explosion of light and energy. For a moment, it seemed as if the ship itself had been consumed, but as the radiance faded, A startling sight greeted the stunned bridge crew. The Ravager was writhing in apparent agony, its crystalline structures fracturing and crumbling. Impossibly, the Intrepid hung in space, battered but intact. "Status report," Elena demanded, hardly daring to believe her eyes. Akira's voice was filled with awe. "Captain, it worked. The power overload caused some kind of resonance cascade in the creature's crystalline structure. It's falling apart." As they watched, the once mighty Ravager disintegrated into a cloud of glittering cosmic dust. Cheers erupted throughout the ship as the realization of their victory sank in. Elena allowed herself a moment of relief before squaring her shoulders. "All right, people. Let's see about contacting those Arculi. Something tells me they'll be very interested in how a ship full of humans just took down their bogeyman." As the Intrepid limped deeper into the nebula, its crew battered but unbroken, Elena couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Once again, humanity had faced the unknown terrors of the cosmos and emerged victorious. It was moments like these that reminded her why she had joined Starfleet in the first place. The adventure, it seemed, was only just beginning. The Zarkeli Sanctuary. The Intrepid pushed deeper into the swirling mists of the nebula, its hull still bearing the scars of its encounter with the Ravager. Captain Elena Martinez stood at the helm, her dark eyes scanning the ethereal patterns of gas and dust that danced across the viewscreen. The victory over the cosmic horror had been hard won, but she knew their mission was far from over. "Any sign of the Zarkeli, Lieutenant Tanaka?" Elena asked, her voice tinged with a mixture of anticipation and concern. Akira's fingers danced across his console, coaxing every bit of data from the ship's sensors. "Nothing definitive yet, Captain. This nebula is playing havoc with our long-range scans." "But wait." He leaned in closer, brow furrowed in concentration. "I'm picking up some kind of structure. It's massive." As if on cue, the swirling gases parted, revealing a sight that left the entire bridge crew speechless. Before them loomed an enormous space station, easily 10 times the size of Earth's largest orbital habitats. Its design was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Organic curves blended seamlessly with crystalline structures reminiscent of the Ravager they had defeated. "By the stars," breathed Commander Jackson, his usual stoic demeanor cracking in the face of such alien grandeur. "Is that Zarkeli technology?" Before anyone could respond, a soft chime emanated from the communications console. Lieutenant Sophia Rice, the ship's linguist and communications expert, straightened in her chair. "Captain, we're being hailed." Elena took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. This was it. Humanity's first official contact with the Zarkeli. "On screen, Lieutenant." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a being that defied easy description. The Zarkeli ambassador appeared to be a shimmering, translucent creature with multiple tendrils that seemed to float in an unseen current. Its body pulsed with soft bioluminescence, and what Elena assumed were eyes gleamed with an intelligence that felt ancient and profound. "Greetings, travelers." The Zarkeli's voice resonated directly in their minds, a symphony of harmonics that sent shivers down Elena's spine. "We are the Zarkeli, keepers of the cosmic balance. You have entered our sanctuary, yet you bear the marks of conflict with the great devourer. How is this possible?" Elena stepped forward, her voice steady despite the awe she felt. "I am Captain Elena Martins of the Earth ship Intrepid. We came seeking peaceful contact with your people, but encountered a creature we call the Ravager. Through a combination of quick thinking and, admittedly, a fair bit of luck, we managed to defeat it." A ripple of what could only be described as astonishment passed through the Zarkeli's form. "Defeated? Impossible. The great devourers have plagued our kind for eons, forcing us to retreat deeper and deeper into the cosmic veils. No species has ever stood against them and survived." "Well," Elena said, allowing a small smile to play at her lips, "humanity has a habit of doing the impossible. We'd be more than willing to share our findings with you, in the spirit of cooperation and mutual defense." The Zarkuli was silent for a long moment, its tendrils weaving complex patterns in the air. Finally, it spoke again. "Your offer is intriguing, Captain Martins. Perhaps there is more to your species than we first perceived. We invite you and a small delegation to board our station. There is much we must discuss." As the communication ended, excited chatter broke out across the bridge. Elena turned to her senior staff, her eyes gleaming with the thrill of discovery. "Well, folks, looks like we've made quite an impression. Commander Jackson, Lieutenant Tanaka, you're with me. Lieutenant Rice, I want you there too. Your linguistic skills might be crucial. And let's bring Chief Zorax along. Something tells me the Zarkuli will be very interested in his engineering insights." As they prepared for the away mission, Elena couldn't shake a nagging feeling in the back of her mind. The Zarkuli's reaction to their defeat of the Ravager had been one of disbelief bordering on shock. What other secrets might this ancient race be hiding? And more importantly, what new dangers might they be about to uncover? The away team materialized on the Zarkuli station in a shimmer of transporter energy, finding themselves in a vast, cathedral-like chamber. The walls pulsed with the same bioluminescence they had seen in the Zarkuli ambassador, creating an ever-shifting tapestry of light and shadow. "Fascinating," muttered Zorax, his antennae twitching as he scanned the environment with his tricorder. "The entire structure appears to be a blend of organic and inorganic materials, Captain. It's almost as if the station is alive." Before Elena could respond, a group of Zarkuli glided into the chamber. The one in the lead, distinguishable by its more complex pattern of bioluminescence, approached the human delegation. "Welcome, Captain Martins and crew of the Intrepid." The Zarkuli's mental voice resonated with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "I am Elder Jolan, lead scientist of our enclave. We have many questions for you, as I'm sure you have for us." Elena nodded, her diplomat's training kicking in. "Indeed we do, Elder Zolan. We're eager to learn about your people and to share what we know about the creature we encountered." As they began to exchange information, it quickly became clear that the Zarkuli possessed scientific knowledge far beyond anything humanity had achieved. Yet, for all their advanced technology, they had been unable to combat the threat posed by the Ravagers. "You must understand," Jolan explained, its tendrils weaving complex patterns that seemed to underscore its words. "The great devourers are not merely predators. They are cosmic anomalies, capable of manipulating energy and matter in ways that defy conventional physics. For millennia, we have only been able to hide, to run, to seek sanctuary in places like this nebula where their senses are confused." Elena exchanged glances with her team. The implications were staggering. If creatures like the Ravager were common in the galaxy, it would explain the eerie silence that had greeted humanity's first forays into deep space. Perhaps they weren't alone in the universe. They had simply been lucky enough to avoid the attention of these cosmic horrors until now. But luck, as Elena well knew, had a way of running out, and humanity had just painted a very large target on its back. The ancient nexus. As the human delegation continued their discussions with the Zarkuli, the air in the chamber grew thick with tension. Elder Zolan's tendrils twisted in complex patterns, a visual representation of the inner turmoil the aliens seemed to be experiencing. "Your victory over the great devourer is unprecedented," Jolan's mental voice resonated. "In all our eons of existence, we have never encountered a species capable of such a feat. It unsettles us." Captain Elena Martinez felt a chill run down her spine. There was something the Zarkuli weren't telling them. "Elder Zolan," she said carefully, "I sense there's more to this situation than you've revealed. If we're to work together against this threat, we need to trust each other fully." The Zarkuli elder's bioluminescence flickered rapidly, a sign Elena had come to associate with agitation. Finally, Jolan spoke again. "You are perceptive, Captain. There is indeed more at stake here than mere survival. Follow me." The elder led them deeper into the station, through twisting corridors that seemed to pulse with life. They eventually emerged into a vast spherical chamber at the heart of the structure. At its center floated a swirling vortex of energy, shot through with threads of what looked like pure starlight. "This," Jolan announced, "is the cosmic nexus. It is the reason we have fought so hard to survive, the secret we have guarded for millions of years." Chief Engineer Zorax's antennae quivered with excitement. "Fascinating. The energy readings are off the charts. This could power 1,000 worlds for millennia." Jolan's mental voice took on a grave tone. "It is far more than a power source, Engineer Zorax. The Nexus is a gateway, a bridge between realities. In the wrong hands, it could unravel the very fabric of our universe." The implications hit Elena like a physical blow. "And the Ravagers, they're after this." "We believe so," Jolan confirmed. "The great devourers are drawn to sources of immense energy. We fear they can sense the Nexus, even if they do not fully understand what it is. That is why we have hidden ourselves away in this nebula, using its chaotic energies to mask our presence." Commander Jackson stepped forward, his face set in grim lines. "But now that we've defeated one, we've potentially exposed your location. They'll come in force." The chamber fell silent as the weight of this realization settled over both humans and Zarkelli alike. It was Lieutenant Reyes who finally broke the silence, her linguist's mind making connections. "Wait," she said, excitement creeping into her voice. "You said the Nexus is a bridge between realities. Could we use it to send the Ravagers somewhere they can't harm anyone?" Jolan's tendrils writhed in what Elena had come to recognize as their equivalent of a head shake. "The Nexus is too unstable, too unpredictable. Attempting to use it as a weapon could have catastrophic consequences." But Elena saw the spark of an idea forming in Zorax's eyes. The Andorian engineer was practically vibrating with excitement. "Maybe not as a weapon," he mused, "but as bait. Captain, remember how we overloaded our core to lure in the Ravager? What if we could do the same thing on a massive scale?" As Zorax outlined his audacious plan, Elena felt a mixture of hope and trepidation. It was risky, borderline insane even. But isn't that what humanity did best? Push the boundaries, take the impossible, and make it possible. "It could work," she said finally, turning to Jolan. "But we'd need your help. Your knowledge of the Nexus, combined with our unorthodox problem-solving methods, might just give us a fighting chance." The Zarkelli elder was silent for a long moment, its bioluminescence pulsing slowly as it considered the proposal. "What you suggest is dangerous beyond measure," Jolan said at last. "And yet, perhaps it is our only hope." "Very well, Captain Martinez. We will combine our knowledge with your ingenuity. May the cosmic tides favor our endeavor." As the humans and Zarkelli began to plan their desperate gambit, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Lieutenant Tanaka's communicator chirped urgently. "Captain," came the panicked voice of the officer left in command of the Intrepid. "We're detecting multiple energy signatures approaching fast. They match the profile of the Ravager." Elena's blood ran cold. They were out of time. The Ravagers were coming, drawn by the defeat of one of their own, and humanity's first true intergalactic war was about to begin. As she looked around at her crew and their new alien allies, she steeled herself for the battle to come. "All right, people," she said, her voice steady despite the fear churning in her gut. "Let's show these cosmic horrors why you don't mess with humanity and our friends. It's time to take the fight to the Ravagers." As the station shuddered under the first impacts of the approaching Ravagers, humans and Zarkelli raced against time to implement their desperate plan. The fate of not just their own species, but potentially the entire universe, hung in the balance. And at the heart of it all pulsed the cosmic nexus, a power beyond imagination that could be their salvation, or their doom. The battle for reality. The Zarkelli station shuddered under the relentless assault of the Ravagers. Through the sweeping view portals, Captain Elena Martinez could see the cosmic horrors swarming like a plague of locusts. their crystalline forms glinting ominously in the light of distant stars. "Status report." Elena barked, her eyes never leaving the terrifying sight outside. Commander Jackson's voice was tense but controlled. "Shields are holding at 68%, Captain. The Zarkulli's technology is impressive, but it won't last forever against this kind of firepower." Elena nodded grimly. "Then we better make sure our plan works before those shields fail." "Zorax, how are we looking?" The Andorian engineer was a blur of motion, his blue hands dancing over alien controls as he worked in perfect synchronization with a team of Zarkulli scientists. "We're making progress, Captain," he called out, antennae twitching with excitement despite the dire situation. "The Zarkulli's understanding of quantum mechanics is revolutionary. If we can just stabilize the Nexus's output." A violent tremor rocked the station, nearly throwing Elena off her feet. Alarms blared as new damage reports flooded in. "We don't have time for ifs, Chief," Elena said, steadying herself against a console. "We need results, now." As if in response to her words, the swirling vortex of the cosmic nexus suddenly pulsed with blinding intensity. Zorax let out a whoop of triumph. "We've done it, Captain. The nexus is primed and ready." Elena allowed herself a brief moment of hope before snapping back into action. "Excellent work. Now for Phase 2. Lieutenant Reyes, are you ready?" Sophia Reyes nodded, her face a mask of determination, as she stood before a hastily assembled communication array. "Ready as I'll ever be, Captain. Though I still think this plan is insane." "Noted, Lieutenant," Elena said with a grim smile. "But insanity might be exactly what we need right now. Begin transmission." Reyes took a deep breath and activated the array. Immediately, a cacophony of sounds filled the air, a mixture of electromagnetic pulses, gravitational waves, and other, stranger forms of energy that defied easy classification. To human ears, it was an incomprehensible mess. But to the Ravagers, "It's working," Lieutenant Tanaka exclaimed from his sensor station. "The Ravagers are changing course. They're heading straight for the Nexus." Elena watched in awe as the swarm of cosmic horrors abandoned their attack on the station, drawn inexorably towards the pulsing heart of the cosmic nexus. The plan was working. Reyes' carefully crafted siren song had tapped into the Ravagers' primal instincts, luring them towards what they perceived as the ultimate energy feast. But the battle was far from over. As the first wave of Ravagers approached the Nexus, Elder Zolan's mental voice rang out in warning. "Brace yourselves. The moment of truth is upon us." The lead Ravager made contact with the swirling vortex of the Nexus. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, with a soundless explosion that seemed to ripple through reality itself, the creature simply vanished. One by one, the Ravagers were swallowed up by the Nexus, each disappearance accompanied by a fresh wave of reality-bending energy that made Elena's teeth ache and her vision swim. The station groaned under the strain, systems flickering on and off as the fabric of space-time itself seemed to warp and twist. "Zorax," Elena shouted over the chaos. "What's happening?" The engineer's voice was filled with equal parts terror and exhilaration. "It's working better than we could have hoped, Captain. The Nexus is shunting the Ravagers into another reality. But the power drain is enormous. We can't keep this up for long." Elena's mind raced. They were so close to victory, but the strain on the station, and on the very cosmos around them, was reaching a critical point. If they pushed too far, they risked tearing a permanent hole in the universe. "Jolen," she called out to the Zarkali elder, "how much longer can your people hold the Nexus stable?" The alien's response was strained, its bioluminescence flickering erratically. "Not long. The energy's too chaotic. We must shut it down. Soon." Elena looked out at the dwindling swarm of Ravagers. They were so close, but not all of the creatures had been drawn in yet. If they closed the Nexus now, they'd be left to face the remnants of the Horde with depleted defenses. It was the kind of moment that defined careers and species, the fate of not just humanity and the Zarkeli, but countless civilizations across the galaxy hung in the balance. Alina felt the weight of that responsibility settle on her shoulders like a physical thing. With a deep breath, she made her decision. Zorax, Jolan, push it to the limit. Give it everything you've got. Let's finish this. The next few minutes were a blur of frantic activity. Alina barked orders, coordinating between her crew and the Zarkeli, pushing both to their absolute limits. The station buckled and heaved around them, systems failing left and right as the cosmic nexus devoured Ravager after Ravager. And then, suddenly, it was over. The last of the cosmic horrors vanished into the swirling vortex with a final, reality-bending flash. For a moment, silence reigned. Close it, Alina shouted. Shut down the nexus. Now. With a monumental effort, Zorax and the Zarkeli scientists managed to power down the nexus. The swirling vortex collapsed in on itself, leaving behind only a faint, shimmering afterimage. As emergency systems kicked in and the station slowly stabilized, Alina allowed herself to breathe again. She looked around at her crew, battered, exhausted, but alive, and felt a surge of pride. "Status report," she said, her voice hoarse. Commander Jackson managed a weary salute. "Ravager threat neutralized, Captain. Station's taken a beating, but we're still here." And he paused, a note of awe entering his voice. "I think we just saved the galaxy." Alina nodded, feeling the enormity of what they'd accomplished begin to sink in. "That we did, Commander. That we did." As humans and Zarkeli alike began to celebrate their unlikely victory, Alina couldn't help but wonder what this meant for the future. Humanity had proven itself on a cosmic stage, facing down horrors beyond imagination and emerging victorious. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity, it seemed, was just getting started. Echoes of victory. The days following the battle with the Ravagers were a blur of activity. As the Zarkeli station hummed with repair efforts, Captain Alina Martinez found herself at the center of a whirlwind of diplomatic negotiations, scientific debates, and strategy sessions. "Captain," Commander Jackson said, approaching her with a data pad in hand, "we've just received word from Earth. The Admiralty is, well, they're having trouble believing our report." Alina couldn't help but chuckle. "Can't say I blame them, Jack. If I hadn't lived through it myself, I'm not sure I'd believe it either." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Elder Zolan, the Zarkeli's bioluminescence pulsing with an intensity that Alina had come to associate with excitement. "Captain Martinez," the alien's mental voice resonated, "we have made a remarkable discovery. Please, come with me." Intrigued, Alina and Jackson followed Jolan to the station's primary research lab. Inside, they found Chief Engineer Zorax, deep in discussion with a group of Zarkeli scientists, all clustered around a holographic display of swirling energy patterns. "Ah, Captain," Zorax exclaimed, his antennae quivering with barely contained enthusiasm. "You're not going to believe this. Remember how we used the cosmic nexus to shunt the Ravagers into another reality?" Alina nodded, a sense of unease growing in her gut. "Don't tell me they found a way back." No, Zorax assured her quickly. "Nothing like that. But we've been analyzing the energy readings from the nexus during the battle. And well, it seems the connection went both ways." The holographic display zoomed in, revealing complex strings of data that Alina couldn't begin to decipher. But the excitement in Zorax's voice was unmistakable. "We didn't just send the Ravagers away," he explained. "We received something in return. Knowledge, Captain. Vast amounts of it, encoded in the very fabric of space-time itself." Elder Zolan's mental voice took on a tone of reverence. "It is as if the universe itself has deemed us worthy of its secrets. The knowledge contained within these transmissions, it could revolutionize our understanding of reality itself." Alina felt a mixture of awe and trepidation. What kind of knowledge are we talking about here? Everything. Zorax breathed. Propulsion systems that could take us to the edges of the universe. Energy sources that could power entire galaxies. And weapons. He paused, his excitement dimming slightly. Weapons that could unmake stars. The implications were staggering. Alina's mind raced with the possibilities and the dangers that such knowledge presented. We need to be careful with this, she said finally. This kind of power, in the wrong hands, could be catastrophic. Jackson finished for her, his expression grim. Elder Zolan's tendrils wove complex patterns in the air. We share your concerns, Captain. That is why we wish to propose an alliance. Your people's ingenuity, combined with our ancient wisdom and this new knowledge. Together, we could usher in an era of peace and discovery the likes of which our galaxy has never seen. Alina felt the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders. This was bigger than her, bigger than the Intrepid, bigger even than humanity itself. The decisions made here could shape the destiny of countless civilizations across the cosmos. I'll need to consult with my superiors, she said carefully. But speaking personally, I believe this is an opportunity we can't afford to pass up. As if on cue, Lieutenant Reyes burst into the lab, her eyes wide with excitement. Captain, we're picking up transmissions from all over the sector. Word of our victory over the Ravagers is spreading fast. Dozens of species are reaching out, seeking protection, offering alliances. It's unprecedented. Alina exchanged glances with Jackson and Jolan. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was at the heart of that change. Well, she said with a wry smile, I guess we got our work cut out for us. Over the next few weeks, the Intrepid became the center of a flurry of diplomatic activity. Species that had long hidden from the Ravager threat now emerged, eager to meet the humans who had accomplished the impossible. Trade negotiations were opened, cultural exchanges planned, and the foundations of a new galactic order began to take shape. Through it all, Alina found herself thrust into the role of not just a starship captain, but a symbol of humanity's potential. It was a daunting responsibility, but one she embraced with characteristic determination. As she stood on the observation deck of the Zarkali station, watching ships of a dozen different species come and go against the backdrop of the swirling nebula, Alina felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to find Zorax, a strange device in his hands. Captain, the Andorian said, his voice uncharacteristically solemn, we've done it. Using the knowledge from the Nexus, we've developed a prototype, a weapon that could, in theory, neutralize a Ravager with a single shot. Alina stared at the device, a mixture of emotions swirling within her, hope, pride, and more than a little fear. Let's hope we never have to use it, she said softly. Zorax nodded in agreement. Indeed, but if they do return, we'll be ready. As Alina turned back to the viewport, she couldn't help but feel a sense of optimism. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged victorious. They had made allies, unlocked cosmic secrets, and taken their first real steps onto the galactic stage. The future, with all its possibilities and perils, stretched out before them like the star-studded expanse of space itself. And Alina Martinez, along with the crew of the Intrepid, was ready to meet it head-on. The age of humanity had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. A new galactic order. 6 months had passed since the battle against the Ravagers, and the galaxy was still reeling from the aftershocks. Captain Alina Martinez stood before the newly formed Galactic Council, her dress uniform crisp and her posture rigid. The chamber, a marvel of alien architecture, housed representatives from over 100 species. At the center, the imposing forms of the Zarkali pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. Captain Martinez, the mental voice of Elder Jolan resonated through the chamber. You stand before us as the representative of humanity, the species that has reshaped our cosmic paradigm. We invite you to address the council. Alina took a deep breath, acutely aware of the weight of this moment. Her word tier could shake the future of not just humanity, but countless civilizations across the stars. Esteemed members of the Council, she began, her voice steady and clear. Humanity comes before you not as conquerors or saviors, but as partners. The victory against the Ravagers was not ours alone, but a testament to what we can achieve when we stand united. She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the assembled aliens. Some looked upon her with awe, others with barely concealed suspicion. The knowledge we gain from the cosmic nexus is both a gift and a responsibility. We propose the formation of a joint research initiative, pooling our resources and expertise to unlock its secrets safely and ethically. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Belina pressed on, her voice gaining strength. But we must also address the power vacuum left by the Ravagers' defeat. Already, we've seen the emergence of opportunistic factions seeking to claim their territory. We must stand vigilant, ready to face new threats together. As Elena concluded her address, the chamber erupted into a cacophony of voices and mental projections. Some species pledged their immediate support, while others voiced concerns about humanity's rapid rise to prominence. Amidst the debate, a holographic communication suddenly materialized in the center of the chamber. Belena's heart sank as she recognized the stern visage of Admiral Zhao, head of Earth's Space Command. "Captain Martinez," the Admiral's voice boomed, "I'm afraid we have a situation that requires your immediate attention. We've lost contact with our colony on Epsilon Eridanii. The last transmission mentioned some kind of crystalline growths." The chamber fell silent. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. It couldn't be, could it? "There's more," Admiral Zhao continued grimly. "We're picking up unusual energy signatures from the sector. They bear similarities to the Ravager we encountered." Elena's mind raced. Had they truly defeated the Ravagers, or merely postponed the inevitable? And if these were indeed Ravagers, how had they returned? Elder Zolan's mental voice cut through the tension. "This council stands with humanity. Whatever threat you face, you will not face it alone." Nods of agreement rippled through the chamber. Species that had been at each other's throats moments ago now stood united in the face of a common enemy. Elena straightened her shoulders, her voice ringing with determination. "Thank you, Elder. Admiral Zhao, ready the fleet. I'll take the Intrepid to investigate immediately." As the council session adjourned in a flurry of activity, Elena found herself in a hushed conversation with Zorax and Commander Jackson. "It's too soon," Zorax muttered, his antennae twitching nervously. "The prototype weapon isn't fully tested. If these really are Ravagers, then we'll have to rely on good old human ingenuity." Elena finished for him. "Jack, send word to the crew. We ship out in 2 hours." As Elena made her way to the Intrepid's docking bay, she was intercepted by a group of alien scientists, led by a serpentine creature with iridescent scales. "Captain Martinez," the alien hissed, its forked tongue flicking out nervously. "I am Dr. Thor of the Ophidian Collective. We've been analyzing the data from the cosmic nexus, and we've made a disturbing discovery." Elena's pace didn't slow. "Walk with me, Doctor. What kind of discovery?" Dr. Thor fell in step beside her, its coils undulating gracefully. "The knowledge we received. It's not random. There's a pattern, a message hidden within the data. We believe the Ravagers were sent here by something far more ancient and powerful." Elena's blood ran cold. The implications were staggering. If the Ravagers were merely the vanguard of some greater cosmic force, "Keep working on decoding that message," she ordered, "and keep it quiet for now. The last thing we need is a panic." As Elena boarded the Intrepid, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something far greater and more terrifying than they had ever imagined. The battle against the Ravagers had been just the beginning. The ship hummed to life around her, systems powering up as her crew rushed to their stations. Through the view screen, she could see the sleek forms of Allied ships moving into formation, ready to follow the Intrepid into whatever danger awaited them. "Plot a course for Epsilon Eridanii," Alina commanded, settling into her captain's chair. Maximum warp. Whatever's out there, we're going to face it head-on. As the Intrepid leaped into warp, streaking across the cosmos towards an uncertain destiny, Alina couldn't help but feel a mix of dread and exhilaration. Humanity had proven they could stand against the galaxy's deadliest predators. Now it seemed they would be tested again. The next chapter in humanity's cosmic adventure was about to unfold, and Alina Martinez was determined to ensure it would be one of triumph, not tragedy. The Cosmic Crucible. The Intrepid dropped out of warp on the outskirts of the Epsilon Eridani system, flanked by a mixed fleet of human and alien vessels. Captain Alina Martinez leaned forward in her chair, her eyes fixed on the main view screen. "Status report," she commanded, her voice taut with tension. Lieutenant Tanaka's fingers danced across his console. "Scanning now, Captain. I'm picking up. By the stars." The view screen zoomed in on Epsilon Eridani II, and a collective gasp rippled through the bridge. The once vibrant colony world was almost unrecognizable, its surface covered in a lattice of crystalline structures that pulsed with an otherworldly energy. "Life signs?" Alina asked, dreading the answer. Tanaka shook his head. "None that I can detect, Captain. But these energy readings, they're off the charts. It's like the entire planet has been transformed into some kind of power source." Before Alina could respond, a transmission cut through the ship's communications. "Captain Martinez," the gravelly voice of Admiral Joe filled the bridge. "I assume you're seeing what we're seeing. Your orders are to investigate, and, if possible, neutralize the threat. But be warned, we're picking up massive energy buildups. Whatever's down there, it's getting ready for something big." "Understood, Admiral," Alina replied, her mind already racing through potential strategies. "We'll keep you updated. Martine's out." As the transmission ended, Commander Jackson leaned in close. "What's the play, Captain? We're outgunned if those really are Ravagers down there." Alina's eyes narrowed as she studied the transformed planet. "We need more information. Zorax," she called out to her chief engineer, "is that prototype weapon of yours ready for a field test?" The Andorian's antennae twitched nervously. "As ready as it'll ever be, Captain. But we've only got one shot. After that, the power core will be completely drained. Then we'd better make it count," Alina said grimly. "Prepare a landing party. We're going down there." Within the hour, Alina found herself leading a small team onto the crystalline surface of Epsilon Eridani. The air shimmered with strange energies, and every step they took sent ripples of light coursing through the ground beneath their feet. "It's beautiful," Lieutenant Reyes murmured, her linguist's mind struggling to find words to describe the alien landscape. "And deadly," Zorax added, his tricorder beeping ominously. "These energy levels, they're building towards some kind of critical mass." As they made their way towards the epicenter of the transformation, a familiar and dreaded sound reached their ears. The keening wail of a Ravager. But this was no lone predator. The cry was taken up by dozens, then hundreds of voices, building to a deafening crescendo. "Take cover," Alina shouted as the first of the crystalline Ravagers burst from the ground around them. These weren't like the ones they had faced before. They were smaller, faster, and seemed to phase in and out of reality as they moved. The battle that ensued was chaos incarnate. Energy weapons flashed, barely slowing the swarm of Ravagers. Alina's team fought with desperate courage, but they were quickly overwhelmed. Just as all seemed lost, a blinding light erupted from the center of the crystalline structures. The Ravagers froze, their keening cries silenced. And then, in a moment that would be seared into Alina's memory forever, a voice spoke, not in words, but directly into their minds. "We are HFYers. You have interrupted your great work." The voice was vast, ancient, carrying with it the weight of eons. Alina struggled to her feet, her mind reeling from the psychic assault. What are you?" she managed to ask. Images flooded her consciousness, glimpses of a universe far older and stranger than she had ever imagined. The Shapers were cosmic architects, reshaping entire galaxies to fuel their grand design. The Ravagers were not predators, but tools, sent out to prepare worlds for harvesting. Your species is young, but enturiguang. You have potentil, we have did not FORESEN. Alina's scientific curiosity warred with her horror at the casual destruction of entire civilizations. And what happens to those who don't have potential? She demanded. The answer came not in words, but in a vision of countless worlds stripped of life, their very essence consumed to feed the Shaper's cosmic machine. No, Alina said, her voice growing stronger. We won't let you do this. Not to our world, not to any world. DFIANC. Admirable, but futile. You cannot stop it VV. Inevitable. But even as the voice spoke, Alina saw a flicker of something in the swirling energies before her. Uncertainty. Fear, even. The Shapers, for all their power, had never encountered a species quite like humanity before. With a surge of inspiration, Alina turned to Zorax. The prototype, she said urgently. Not as a weapon, as a key. Understanding dawned in the Andorian's eyes. Working feverishly, he reconfigured the device, tapping into the very energies that powered the Shaper's grand design. As the swarm of Ravagers began to stir once more, Alina raised the modified prototype high. You say we have potential. She called out to the cosmic entities. Then let us show you what humanity is truly capable of. She activated the device, and for a moment, the universe seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a soundless explosion of light and energy, everything changed. The crystalline structures began to crumble, the Ravagers dissolving into motes of light. But more than that, Alina felt the fabric of reality itself shift and realign. The knowledge of the cosmic nexus, the power of the Shapers, and the indomitable will of humanity all came together in a singular moment of creation. When the light faded, Epsilon Eridani Aya was transformed once more, not into a battery for cosmic entities, but into something new. A world where the boundaries between thought and reality, between the physical and the divine, had been forever blurred. The voice of the Shapers spoke one last time, tinged now with something approaching respect. UAVCHOZN a different PAT. We will be waiting. In the days that followed, as the United Fleet worked to stabilize the transformed planet and rescue the surviving colonists, Alina found herself grappling with the enormity of what had transpired. Humanity had not just tamed the galaxy's deadliest predators, they had reshaped the very nature of their reality. As she stood on the bridge of the Intrepid, watching the swirling energies of the new Epsilon Eridani, Alina felt a mix of pride, hope, and trepidation. They had saved their world, and countless others, from a fate worse than death. But in doing so, they had set foot on a path that would take them to the very edges of what it meant to be human. The galaxy, it seemed, held wonders and terrors beyond imagination. And humanity, with its unique blend of ingenuity, courage, and sheer stubborn determination, was ready to face them all. As the Intrepid prepared to return to Earth, carrying news of their victory and the dawning of a new cosmic age, Alina couldn't help but smile. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever new predators or cosmic entities they might face, she knew one thing for certain. Humanity was just getting started.